First at 4, snow starting to wind down, but is this the last that we're going to see of the flakes this week? Devin?
All right, Ben, also promoting diversity in corporate boardrooms, the proposal that could force some companies to hire more women, minorities, and members of the LGBTQ community. Hank.
And Devin, giving the gift of warmth. Local 4 teaming up with Thaw to make sure that Metro Detroiters have the resources and money to keep the heat on this winter. In fact, you can make a donation right now by calling 800-866-THAW. A live report straight ahead.
Live from downtown Detroit, home of WDIV and Click on Detroit, Local 4 News First at 4 starts now.
Good afternoon. I'm Devin Skillian in for Karen today. First at 4, Detroit police are investigating after a man suspected of murder is killed during a shootout. All started after 11 o'clock last night when a woman was found murdered on Detroit's west side. Police had a suspect in mind, believing she was murdered over a child custody issue. Around 5 this morning, police say that 28-year-old suspect pulled up to the 5th precinct in a dark SUV, started firing several shots into the station with an AR-15 style rifle.
We got hold of text messages that suggest that he took her life, and that he was maybe going to take the life of a police officer. He then comes to a police station, gets out very boldly, parks right up in the front of the door, gets out over the hood with this long rifle, and begins to fire several times at the police station.
That man was killed, but the investigation continues. We're also learning more about the woman who died. It turns out she was the niece of a state lawmaker. Much more on what is turning out to be a very complicated story coming up on Local 4 News at 5. At this hour, we are waiting for critical guidance on how coronavirus vaccines might be distributed. First, the state's reporting almost 5,800 new cases of the virus over the past 24 hours. And we have now seen another 190 deaths. That includes 30 from a vital records review. Today, a panel at the Centers for Disease Control will vote on who will be in line first to get the vaccine. Those guidelines are expected to come within the hour. Our Dr. Frank McGeorge is monitoring that meeting, and we will hear from him coming up at 5 o'clock as well. Michigan remains under increased restrictions for at least another week. Governor Whitmer was just asked if those rules might be extended.
At this point in time, it's really too early to say precisely where we will be in a few days, much less next week. But I think it's important for people to know we've not predetermined anything. It's going to be driven by where we see the numbers.
Now at 5 o'clock, our Mara McDonald asked the governor about the battle with restaurants over the restrictions on inside dining. We'll have that story coming up here at 5. All right, let's check in on the first forecast. If you still do the morning drive, it was a little treacherous today, but traffic much lighter than normal too, which helps right now. Let's look at the drive home now. Ben?
Yeah, Devin, we still have the flakes flying out there, but the stuff that you see on Storm Tracker 4 right now is relatively light. In fact, it's likely not even accumulating across the area. But look how quickly that stuff is evaporating. We're just about an hour or so away from being completely done with it for most of the area. Totals that we've gotten in so far have been firmly in that 2 to 4 inch range. In fact, Wyandotte at 4.2, one of the largest totals that we picked up. You can see here on the map that we're expecting to see not only the snow come to an end pretty quickly, but the clouds are going to start to clear out too, and that's going to allow temperatures to drop somewhat, even though the winds are going to stay elevated tonight. So expect below freezing numbers through the evening and starting out tomorrow with a healthy wind chill. We'll talk about that and where we go from here with temperatures in just a few minutes. Devin?
All right, Ben. We've got some breaking news now from Attorney General William Barr. He just announced the Justice Department has not uncovered evidence of widespread voter fraud that would change the outcome of the presidential election. He tells the Associated Press investigators have followed specific complaints but have come up empty. These comments, of course, come even as President Trump tries to continue to raise concerns about the election's integrity, and he has yet to concede the race to Joe Biden. Meantime, the president-elect has officially introduced his economic team led by Janet Yellen as Treasury Secretary. If confirmed by the Senate, she would be the first woman to lead the Treasury Department. Wally Adeyemo was chosen as Yellen's deputy, making him the first black deputy Treasury Secretary. Cecilia Rouse would serve as chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, and Neera Tanden as director of the Office of Management and Budget. All of this, though, pending, of course, confirmation by the Senate. Let's move to Washington. A group of bipartisan lawmakers is trying to breathe new life into a COVID relief bill. But will their plan get the green light from congressional leaders and from President Trump? Looks like the plan has already hit one roadblock. Let's bring in Kimberly Gill, who's in the newsroom, with an update. KG?
Hi, Devin. Good afternoon to you. A new COVID relief bill has been jammed for months as House Democrats and Senate Republicans can't find enough common ground to get anything done. But this bipartisan group says it's been meeting nonstop, except for Thanksgiving, to reach a compromise. So here are the broad strokes. The total cost is about $908 billion. It includes $228 billion for the Paycheck Protection Program, which helps small businesses to pay their employees, keeping them off unemployment. It would also revive an extra jobless benefit, but this time it would be $300 a week instead of $600 a week. State and local governments would receive $160 billion. The bipartisan group calls this a temporary patch, but they say something needs to be done.
Somebody used it, and I borrowed their term, that it would be stupidity on steroids if Congress left for Christmas without doing an interim package as a bridge.
Republicans and Democrats, neither of us got everything we wanted. Both of us got much of what we wanted. And I think that combination reflects what Congress is supposed to do, reconciling different priorities, but ultimately doing something good for the American people.
But the plan is already hitting a roadblock. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says he wants to pass a bill, but it must be something President Trump is willing to sign. He's talking to Republican senators for their feedback, plus lawmakers need to pass an overall spending plan by December 11th to avoid a government shutdown. So, Devin, there's a lot going on. As always, we will, of course, keep you posted.
You bet. All right, Kim, we'll see you at 5.
Sure.
Many corporate boardrooms, as you know, tend to be full of white men. Well, now the NASDAQ Stock Exchange raising the stakes to boost diversity. It wants to require listed companies to hire at least one woman and one person who identifies as an underrepresented minority or LGBTQ. Companies that don't would have to explain why not. If the SEC approves the plan, companies would have 2 years to meet that requirement. Our Paula Tutman shows us how this kind of thinking is already gaining momentum.
The importance of women serving on boards is not new, particularly to the women of the National Association of Women Business Owners, or NABO. For years, the Greater Detroit chapter has held workshops and symposiums branded Women on Boards to promote and prepare women for these important jobs in our economy. Tanya Hill is a Detroit-based national board member of NABO.
Women influence the households. And when you think about the buying power of households, whether it's, run by a woman or a family, the female typically holds the purse strings.
Her argument is that companies become stronger when they have leadership steering from their customers.
And so why would we not have a presence when we are, quite frankly, responsible to a great extent for their profitability?
And so today's announcement by NASDAQ that top-tier companies will be mandated to make the boardrooms look more like the nation's conference rooms, where women and minorities are putting in the hard work but often bump into mid-management ceilings, is certainly being applauded. At Flagstar Bank, this is already well-worn territory when the CEO, Sandro Danilo, announced this summer that he wanted his leadership to look different and be different.
I think as we looked at this year and what happened with the murder of George Floyd and the social injustice issues that had really become much more in the spotlight, it was clear to me that waiting for the right time to do it because somebody retired or something just wasn't the right way to look at this, and we needed to accelerate.
Yet he knows there will be pushback.
Yeah, so it will look like affirmative action for board members. And so I think it's a message to private industry to get down to it, man, and do the right thing.
Yeah, and so both of these folks tell me that, or at least they kind of give me the sense that this is a mandate that would be a much needed doorstop to keep those doors from slamming shut on the faces of qualified people, really qualified people who've seen nothing but the front of that door for many, many years, Devin.
Fascinating to watch how corporate America responds to this kind of an idea. All right, Paula, fascinating. Still ahead, it is the gift he never saw coming. How a gas station attendant ended up getting a new car for free. In trending stories, out of prison and back to work, there is a social media debate brewing about actress Felicity Huffman's new job. We'll see what you think. But first, it's supposed to be the most wonderful time of the year. Well, not if your family is struggling. In 2020, giving the gift of warmth could help someone you never suspected was in trouble.
The type of customers that we help are not who you typically would think need assistance. Really, could be the person standing next to you when you're in line at the bank, in line at the grocery store, or sitting next to you at church.
Many people are struggling during this pandemic. Help us give the gift of warmth. Call the number on your screen, 800-866-THAW. The money you donate to Thaw will help neighbors struggling to pay their utility bills right now.